welcome everybody. Board members, make sure your mics are on so we can hear you. As always. Okay, we have roll call tonight. We have everybody here present. No absence. Approval of the agenda that's presented. Any questions or additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay. Tonight we have a public hearing on the proposed budget. And so I would recommend that we, for the 2016 and 17 budget, that we open the public hearing at 7:03. Make a motion. Have a second on this? Support. You can take a roll call vote?
Yes. Converse?
Yes. Here.
Daniel?
Yes.
DeLuca? Yes. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker.
Yes. Okay, board members, this time we'll open it up to the public if you have any comments. We had went over this issue over the budget last month. Okay, anybody at all?
Is this about the budget or whatever?
Yeah, about the budget.
Oh.
Just the budget.
We all need to
They gave yourself one too, a bit.
Okay, if there isn't any comments about the budget, then I think we'll close the public hearing at 7:04. 1 minute. And we'll take a roll call on that. Close. Got a second on that to close it? Okay, I need a second.
Support.
Trent seconds it.
Roll call is Converse?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yeah.
DeLuca?
Yes.
McLaughlin?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and Whitaker?
Yes. Okay, now we're down to public comment. Now,
Okay, give me a minute.
sure, take your time.
Last month at the meeting here, you had a gentleman here by the name of Thomas Flanagan. He said he would try to control the traffic on Napier Road and some of the other gravel roads. Well, we got his phone number, and for 3 or 4 days, we watched the trucks going north and south. I called the gentleman and left a message. I called him 3 or 4 times that day, and never got a return call. And between my wife and myself, we average counting just the garbage trucks, 1 every minute and a half. And that's not counting the double tandems, and the trucks carrying the dumpsters. The traffic has gotten 2 to 3 times worse from last meeting till now. We come down to the meeting, and we're going south on Napier, and you should see, I mean, it looks like it's snowed. There's so much garbage laying all over there. It's getting ridiculous. And what these people from the dump are saying they're gonna do, try to make things better, they're making it worse. To me, I've got no use for this man who gave us the phone number because he doesn't reply, he doesn't do what he said. He did put a sign up there, and the only thing I noticed from that sign, everybody's making a left turn instead of a right turn. So, I mean, if we get some police out here, police the area, you know, check the trucks going north and south, the speed and everything else. Yesterday, the fog was so bad, I get up at 6:30, cannot see the road. I hear this truck fire up coming off of 7 Mile going south on Napier Road. All I see is headlights, and I knew it, and he was gone. That was fog. It's dangerous. That road is nothing but, it's a nightmare. So is there something we could do, you know, with the dump, patrol the trucks and everything else, and cut the speed limit down? I mean, 1 week we had that road graded for probably a couple weeks ago, they had the graders out there 4 or 5 days. That week bringing gravel and everything else, you know. And then yesterday was graded. It has to be graded again today. It's a nightmare. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Curley,
You want me to say something?
come on. Now's your time. Come on up here so I can hear you. Thank you, sir.
I'm accustomed to public speaking as I hate.
Yeah.
A lot of you folks probably don't know, but we have here in the township a scholarship program. It's called the Salem Township Promise, and it gives a graduating Salem Township graduating high school senior $5,000 to help reduce the cost of them going to college. Right now, we have 2 kids in school, and they're both doing extremely well. We're very, very pleased. And we've already sent the applications to the schools for the upcoming 16-17 school year. So this fall, we'll have 3 kids in college, and it'll be a cost of $7,500 a year. We're doing fine. I'm not trying to hit you up for money. Yeah. We've been slowly building our donor base. We're doing very well. We have money in the bank, and we're always looking for people who are interested in supporting the kids. So if you thought about it, about making a donation, but you haven't yet because, well, you don't quite know what Pat Curley's doing with the money, I have a financial report. I'll be glad to share it with you. I'm very cheap when it comes to spending money, and I'd be willing to share that.
Yeah, we've been out with you, Pat.
Anyway, like I say, we're doing very well. If you would like to contribute, but you're not quite sure, I'll be glad to let you see this financial report. It's from day 1 up to today. It shows how much money we've received in donations, how much we've spent, and how much money we have in the bank. I'll let you see it. So, with that said, there is another piece of good news for people who may have investments with a company called Thrivent Financial. I don't know what it is, but I believe it's a Christian-based finance company that takes care of money for folks. And they give a reward, much like the Kroger gas thing. And people who are members of Thrivent can direct those, what they call choice dollars, to our township. And we have one person here in the township that has done that. And in the last quarter, we were able to get $400. I don't know how she generates that money, but she sends it to us. So we're very thankful. So with that, if there are any questions?
For the Salem Township Promise, who do we contact? If we want to
The
donate?
applications have
I mean,
been,
if we want to donate.
oh,
Give her a phone number.
me,
Okay.
You can call the township also.
247-437-0012.
Thank you.
And there's some little cards in the back that have my name, phone number, and email. So, any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Pat and his wife have done a great job, if I could just comment about their service, and you can rest assured that the money goes for a great cause, and they put a lot of hard work behind it, and I know I personally give to the fund. I remember when we first started it, it's just a great thing to help families that need some assistance.
And it is 501c3, 100% tax deductible.
Right. Okay. Okay, anybody else? Okay, then, moving on down, my comments tonight, I want to thank my wife, is down in Florida, so she's still down there enjoying the weather, and the table, the refreshments, my son, Travis, I don't know if you've met Travis, not he doesn't come around too much, and his lovely wife, Jen, have prepared the refreshments tonight, so I want to thank them for helping Dad out, and, because I couldn't put that on, so I want to thank them for being here tonight. Okay, now for our consent agenda, Mr. Wensley.
I have one change to make on the last month's regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, on the consent agenda, which is item 6. I inadvertently put Mr. DeLuca down, which he wasn't even at the meeting, but should have been Mr. Trent. So please make that change on your last month's board meeting, and then I will go ahead with this. I move that Salem Township approve the following consent agenda items. The minutes of the February 9th, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. The disbursements for February general fund, the checks $90,391.32. These are checks 25,868 through 25,929. We had in the escrow fund $1,285, checks 1634 and 1635. We had a payroll last month of $52,381.92. It cost us $182.50 through Paycor. We had checks dispersed through the sewer fund of $7,414.68. These are checks 1968 and 1969. Now for the invoices in March out of the general fund, we have $92,226.28. The sewer fund was a large payment out of that, $140,249.74. And the escrow fund, $9,410. So if we have a second, we can go for
I'll
it.
second.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is passed. Moving on down to business items. For the, want to make a motion, this is basically the retirement plan that the township had for years that we kind of disbanded, but always had, I know it's got here cost of living, it's not actually cost of living, it's just a bonus that we put in the budget every year to give the employees. That's not the elected officials, of course, but it is to the employees that are here. So I move that Salem Township, at the discretion of the Board of Trustees, an annual bonus which shall be paid at a lump sum distributed to full-time and part-time employees who work for Salem Township on March 31st, 2015. Seasonal and contract employees are not eligible. This will be equally distributed to each eligible employee based on the amount allocated in the approved line budget item. The total amount will be distributed will be $10,000. A second on this?
Second.
Mr. Winsley, any discussions on this? I know some of the retirement accounts, I know they're trying to get, I think we were at Fidelity actually this past week closing out. People had little bits amount of money in that to, be totally out of the retirement business as far as the township is for employees. other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, now to the, Mr. Wensley on the road dust.
I move that Salem Township approve the agreement for the Washtenaw County Road Commission to provide the local dust control in the township, as you see in the attached document, for the amount of $21,431.70.
Support. Any questions on this? Okay, have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Again, that's the three dust, grading and dust control. Okay, I move that Salem Township approve the township continue retention of Richard Carlisle of Carlisle Workman and Associates in Ann Arbor at the rate of $1,800 per month to act as a special planning consultant to provide daily assistance to the township staff, the administration, and enforcement of the zoning ordinance effective April 1st, 2016. And to terminate the planning and zoning consultants' services of Don Pennington and Rodney Manny effective March 31st, 2016. Can I have a second on this?
Support.
Okay, any questions? We have with us tonight Mr. Carlisle from his company Carlisle Woodman, and Richard has done a great job so far working with us on some projects in the USD and appreciate his service. We are anticipating, looking forward to his service with us. Do any of the board members, I don't know if any of you have any questions for Mr. Carlisle? You're welcome to ask. I know there's a bunch of information in your board packet about his company. One thing we can note, I'd like to talk about as far as the services. Richard will have a person that will be representing the planning commission, working with the planning commission. His name is Paul, I always forget his last name, I'm gonna learn it. Montagno, which will be working with the planning commission, but Richard will also be working with us on a lot of the special projects, so be happy to have him on staff. The other important things to talk about his company, I feel that the township really needs to look at. There's a lot of other services that they do have that I think in the future that could be very helpful to the township. One is the code enforcing of issues that we have in the township, that they provide a service that we can look into this of issues that arise. As we know, many issues sometimes arise, and if we've had Donna here on staff, and between myself and her, issues come up. We need to maybe have an outside firm to help us understand our ordinances, understand how it works, and make that, have that ability to be able to do that. But I think what some of the issues that the township have had, I've been here for a little over 3 years. Some of the issues that we have had here is that we sometimes get different answers. We've had Donna working in the office. Donna was here when I became supervisor of the township. Don Pennington was here, and then Rodney Manny had been here doing most of the stuff, and Don kind of disappeared from being here to represent the township. So Rodney kind of took over. So sometimes Rodney would have some answers, and Donna would have different answers, and it kind of created a problem. So I think what we're moving forward is that we have one consultant that will be looking over the zoning and planning, and what they're looking at is Paul to be able to be here a half day, a week, working with our staff and working with anybody that needs to come in to talk about any of the issues that are coming our way that they can handle. So, anyway, I just think it's gonna be a great asset having them on board with us. The other interesting thing, and just, I have been telling other people, and I'll tell this too, the other service they provide is also kind of taking over the building department. And the more I'm looking into it, the more I think everybody looks at it, as the township grows, building starts going on, people come in with plans, they go in different directions. It would be kind of nice to be able to have that stuff go to one company that's licensed and bonded and make sure that things are followed properly. And so that's another thing that we can look at, that's something extra down the road if we choose to go that way, so. But they provide a lot of services, and I'm really excited to see this change. I think it'll be healthy and good for our township. Any other questions for Mr. Carlisle or anybody?
Let me ask one question, and then I'll make a comment. Don, share with us some background of your company, how long you've been in business, and how large your organization is.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the nice introduction, and appreciated meeting the members of the board. This isn't our first go-around working with Salem Township. We have done work with Salem in the past, particularly assisting you with litigation and doing expert testimony on your behalf a few years ago, but certainly we've had a lot of familiarity with the township over the years. Essentially, I started the company in 1988. That was after being in a sole proprietorship for, quite a few years before that. But I started Carlisle Associates in 1988. In 1991, Don Wortman joined me. And the company's grown from there. We started with one person, we now have 27 people. Our main office is obviously in Ann Arbor, and has been and will continue to be. For as long as, at least as I'm around, and I think the members of our company are around. But we also have operations down in the Downriver area and operations up in Oakland County. This company has grown solely on the basis of providing services to local government. These are the only, the Salem Townships of the world are the only people that we work for. And so consequently, the way that we've developed the company is to provide the kind of services that we see and we understand that you need to be able to function and to make good decisions. We started out solely providing planning services, but as time went on, we began to find that our clients needed more services, and we began to expand into areas such as zoning administration, code enforcement, and building administration. And so consequently, that's essentially how we've grown the company. As I said, we now have 27 people in our company, not all in the Ann Arbor office, spread out in different locations. The other thing that you should, I think, know is that, we have established quite a strong base of communities already in Washtenaw County. I mean, surprisingly, even though we started in Ann Arbor, originally the business really grew much more rapidly up in Oakland County for some reason. I can't explain it, but that's just kind of the way things happen. But we always had a pretty good base of clients here. But right now, we represent over 14, 15 communities in Washtenaw County alone. And some of your neighbors, such as Ann Arbor Township, Scioto Township, Pittsfield Township, most of the communities around Ann Arbor we represent. Others, such as Superior Township, we've done quite a bit of work for over the years, again, defending them, helping provide expert testimony work. So anyway, we are again, very established in many of the communities we've worked for years. I mean, many, many years. Personally, I mean, the community, the longest community that I've actually served has been Independence Township for 34 years, since 1981. So I think if you you examine, you know, our longevity and our reputation, you'll find that we work with communities for quite a long time, and that's because we really believe in becoming part of your community in terms of understanding what your issues are. There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all. Every circumstance is unique, but we have the breadth of experience that we can bring to you, experience and solutions that we know have been worked elsewhere and may work here, or can be customized to work here. So we have, you know, that kind of broad experience from that standpoint. So that's essentially, you know, in a nutshell, I think a little bit what we're about. Specifically, the way we work with any client is every client's represented by a principal in charge, and that would be me. So consequently, you know, I will continue, as I have already, for the work that I have been assigned, taking oversight of responsibility. Paul Montagno is a very well-experienced and a great young man. Was with Pittsfield Township for 10 years as their planner. So as you can see, he understands township planning, understands zoning, understands working with people, understands working with planning commissions. And then left there to work with Washington County for a couple of years before he came with us. Unfortunately, Paul couldn't be here tonight because he's sick. So, but he does plan on attending the next planning commission. There may be people, from time to time, additional people. We have environmental specialists. Sally Emliger, for example, works with Ann Arbor Township. Sally has a very strong environmental background. When there's environmental issues come up, we have that kind of background. We have people that are involved in economic development. As we said, we have code enforcement folks. So we have a pretty broad range of expertise. So that's pretty much what we're about in a nutshell. So I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Any other questions from anybody?
I don't have a question, Mr. Supervisor, but I will make a comment. You know, over the last few years, as I've been a regular attender of our MTA conferences, and when I go around and visit the exhibit booths, and as we've investigated, based on board action of a year ago, of seeking professional services for different planners to come in and help us with our visioning for the USD and for the Hamlet area. One company's name that has always been brought forward, even amongst Don's peers, is his firm, Carlisle Wortman. And so he's built a great company that is very distinguished, very highly thought of, not only by our neighboring communities, but even amongst his peers in the industry. And so, and I've had the opportunity, as being part of our Salem Springs committee, to see Don's expertise firsthand. And he brings a wealth of knowledge, and it's something that I'm appreciative of, and look forward to having him work with our community long-term. So.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may, I've had the good fortune of knowing Dick on and off board, working with him on various projects for various municipalities for the last, 15, 20 years. And I'm so happy that Dick would agree to come on board here. He is the creme de la creme of planners. Being a member of both the Michigan Municipal League and Michigan Township Association, as David has mentioned, when they talk about planners and good planners and who has the great expertise in that area, Dick Carlisle's name always comes up. And so he will be a huge asset. We've got some major projects and developments going on in the USD, and Dick will really be able to service us well in those areas. You know, unfortunately, we've gotten some bad advice from our previous township planner. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I can guarantee we won't be getting that type of bad advice from Dick Carlisle.
All I can say is I hope not. After both of those accolades from David and Ed, I appreciate that. So I appreciate that. We're very careful about what we do, and really, you know, attempt to really provide the best possible advice that we can to our communities, and hopefully, you know, that's what will happen here. So.
Dick, one quick question.
Yeah.
for the actual functioning of the day-to-day operations, explain how that would work where someone from our office could just, you know, if we have a question, does the girls and the staff, the women and
Yes.
and the other office just pick up a phone and call a
Anytime.
call, or how does that work?
Anytime. Yes, in fact, that's, you know, most of our continuing service work like this, we try to do it on a retainer basis. Because what we don't, we want people to feel welcome to call us and get the advice that they need before a mistake is made or before bad advice is given or an applicant gets set in the wrong direction. But we don't want them to be discouraged because they think, well, there's a half an hour, we're gonna get a bill for a half an hour. That's why we do this on a retainer basis. That's why we establish. The second part about it is we do think it's important for there to be face-to-face communication. That's why Paul will be spending a half a day a week in your offices. And that's when they can talk about, your staff can talk about agendas, about any particular problem that may be occurring, a particular issue, what is being proposed moving forward. And that's why we think it's important that our people spend some time in your office to sort of help scope out things that might need to be addressed. But in addition to that, I mean, not only Paul, but I am, I've already fielded questions from your office staff, which has been fine. I mean, I'd rather have somebody call us and ask us the question prior to making a decision than calling us and telling us that, well, we decided to do this, now how do I fix the problem? That's always much more difficult. So that's why we established this in this way. And so, we'll be assisting with, applicants that have, that want to do something, citizens that have a particular question, assisting with putting together the agendas and the packets for the planning commissions and the zoning board of appeals. So essentially helping your staff shepherd these things through the process and being a technical resource at any time that you need it for anything that we have that capability to advise you of. And that's pretty much how it works.
Any other questions? All right, Dick.
Okay.
Thank you. The other issue before we vote on this is that we, or maybe add it to the motion to, now it's the transition period of getting our planning commission up to date and getting them introduced to Mr. Carlisle and Paul. So anyway, I would recommend that, unless the planning commission comes back and says this isn't the right guy. So I just want to make sure that they feel comfortable with him and as we move forward with this. So, all right, anything else? Any other questions? Okay, and we have a second on this, right? All right.
David? Yeah.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Thanks, Dick. You don't have to stay all day long, you take a big piece of cake and go home.
Well, since it was made by your son and daughter-in-law,
Right.
it's gotta be great.
Right. But, once again, they have, Dick has already shown a lot of, working with, Mr. Plato and Mr. Fisher, our legal, it's been fun working with them, so I think this is be a good fit. Okay, moving on down to the, approve the non-elected officials' pay rates. So if you wanted to know how much I make, here we go. No, this is it the elected officials? Yeah. And this one, here we go, okay. I move that Salem Township approve the annual salaries for 2016-2017 fiscal year effective April 1st, 2016 at the following rates for elected officials. The administrative offices, supervisor, clerk, and treasurer makes $35,100. The trustees, $6,150. There's no pay raises. So, you have a second on this?
I'll second it.
All right, Reggie seconds it. Could be negative trouble. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unless somebody wants to give us a raise. Okay, and moving on down to the non-elected officials' pay rates. I move that Salem Township approve the annual pay rates for 2016-2017 fiscal year effective April 1st, 2016, the following rates. Deputy Treasurer, $20.19 an hour. Deputy Clerk, $21.07 per hour. Community Development Administration, $22 an hour. Building Department Administration, $16.83 an hour. Administrative Assistant number one, $22.35 an hour, and Administrative Assistant two, $15 an hour. Fire Chief, $25,000 a year. The Fire Department personnel increase in pay according to their contract. Do you have a second on this?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I just want to back up if the board, if I could just back up. I know there'd probably be questions about Donna's issue with letting her go, and I've had a good conversation with Donna. Donna's in Florida, and she understands. She's been a great person to work with here at the township. She is going to be coming in when she gets back and trying to help make the adjustment of stuff that's been going on to make sure Paul and planner is up to par and up to date of anything that's been going on to the township. So just to kind of make that clear, so her job will kind of be eliminated with this coming on. So I think, just so if there were any questions, I just wanted to make that clear. All right, so we're down to the budget amendments.
So I have one change to, as you see on your notes, we have a whole page of budget amendments. There's only one change, which is going to be the very top line item. We are not revising the revenue budget. Our Treasury Department found out we are going to be getting paid a little bit more money than we were thinking from the landfill. So we were going to revise that down $200,000, but we're going to just eliminate that and keep the budget the same as it is, which is 1.2 million. So now I'll go ahead and read, bear with me, it's a whole page here. I move that Salem Township approve the following cost center budget amendments for this current fiscal year, 2015-16. The Township Clerk's Department, the health insurance, the budget is $4,600. We revise it to $5,000. That's an additional $400. The Township Treasurer, health insurance, budgeted $9,660. Revised budget $10,660. So that's an additional $1,000. Engineering services, the budget is $2,500. We need to revise it to $6,000. That's an additional $3,500. The fire department has about 5 items here. Salaries, the budget is $175,000. We need to raise that to $197,000. So that's an additional $22,000. The officer's salary, or I should say officer salary, budget is $15,000. We can actually revise it down to $7,100. So that's a savings of $7,900. The run response fund is currently budgeted at $8,500. We need to revise it to $10,500. That's an additional $2,000. Payroll taxes, 28,000, raised to 28,500, that's $500 additional. Training wages, the budget is 40,000, we revise it to 55,000, that's an additional 15. The fringe benefits, basically that's insurance and bonds, pretty much it's our workers' comp. We budgeted 24,000, we need to revise that to 27,000, so that's an additional 3,000. Our planning consultant fees, we budgeted 20,000, we revised it to 25,000, so that's an additional 5,000. This current legal is 1,000 budget, we need to raise that to 120,000. Well, let me read that again. The legal is 100,000, we'll raise it to 120,000, that's an additional 20,000. Roads, dust control, we have 100,000. We can revise it down to 68,000 so that we're saving 32,000. Road maintenance, we have a budget of 400,000. We only spent 359,000, so we're saving 41,000. Capital improvements, we have a budget of 50,000. We didn't spend any of it, so we'll save 50,000 there. Capital improvements in the fire department area, we approved 60,000, we only have spent 12,000, so we're saving 38,000. So these total offsets to the contingency fund, instead of being negative, now we're positive, so we're adding $96,500 back into our contingency fund. So that's a very positive thing. 96.5. Your paperwork says a negative 103, but that's because of the landfill, but we're reversing that. So now we have $96,500 to add into our contingency fund. So do we have a second, and then if there's any questions?
Support.
Mr. Trent seconds it. Any questions on these? Just want to make a note on legal, just don't get paranoid, Mr. Plato. But anyway, there was about 20,000 spent in the contract, the new contract the fire department has. And we're still waiting for some bills to see where we're going to be at on this, so hopefully we won't be over budgeted on that. Any other comments?
Yeah, could I, Jim, could you explain some of the fire department, like the salaries and mainly training wages and salaries, I was wondering?
Yeah, so, it's, our run responses are just that, they're a prediction of what we're having for calls, and they're up. Matter of fact, February, my report to the board was twice what our average was. So that's why you're seeing that increase, and then subsequent, increase with taxes. In training, we've got 2 of our responders now going to EMTs going from MFR to EMT, so that's an increase there as well. And then, if you take it the totality of the year, we had a number of training burns which gave us 8-hour work periods that, again, was explained earlier, brought up our training wages for that cost. The new budget will break it apart a little bit tighter to see what's actually run responses, in-station hours, and training. So you'll be able to see those more clearly for what we're spending in each of those budgeted areas.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're down to Mr. Winslow.
All right. Again, bear with me as I read through this. This is the Salem Township General Appropriations Act for 2016-17. This is basically when we are approving next year's budget. This is the township supervisor, will be the chief administrative officer, and this is I, as the clerk, will be the fiscal officer. We shall perform the duties of appropriating this budget. There was a public hearing today. It was published in the Southland Herald last week, March the 10th. And the estimated general fund revenues for next year total $2.7 million. $2,715,200. That will be our estimated revenue for next year. So here we go. The township, these are line items for the entire budget. The township board, $36,582. The township supervisor's budget, and as you know, there's a lot of line items throughout this, so it'll have, payroll and health insurance and taxes and all these items. It's not just for the supervisor. Township supervisor, $69,390. The independent auditing department, $18,800. The assessing department, $47,920. We're keeping the legal service department at $100,000. The township clerk's department is $83,145. The board of review department, $4,142. The township treasurer's department, $94,096. The elections department, $30,200. The township hall and office department, $142,250. The land preservation and conservation department, $0. The community development department, $185,910. The planning commission, $41,265. Engineering, $52,500. All other consultants, $17,000. The zoning board of appeals, $1,852. The fire department, $502,700. The police department, $325,000. Highways and streets, $503,000. Fringe benefits and insurance, $59,000. Other functions, sometimes miscellaneous, $265,000. Most of that is the contingency. And capital improvements, $135,000. That is it. Do you have a
Do we have a second on this?
Second.
DJ? We'll do a roll call on this.
Mr. Supervisor, could I just share a couple of comments regarding one of the cost centers, cost center 401 for engineering services. We are still in the process of having to complete the Part 41 application. Highland Treatment just provided updated quotes today to us. That looks like we'll be able to come in well under budget for what's being proposed. When we met with them earlier in the month, they said we should plan for $40,000 for that project, plus an additional $10,000 for the SAW grant that we applied for 3 years ago. Stantec believes that in October, when the next round of funding becomes available, we might actually fall into the lottery pool this year. And part of our requirement for obtaining those SAW grant funds is we have to match 10%. So they suggested we put some monies in the budget for that project as well too, if we were to get funded. So looks like we'll have adequate funding for not only completing the Part 41, but also the $10,000 for the SAW grant match for this fiscal year if we get funded. So I just wanted to update the board on that cost center as to justify the increase that we looked at from a month ago.
All right, any other questions?
I probably should just, the elections department, in the past years has been around, the last 3 years have been around 5,000 to 7,000, but as you know, this is the what comes around every 4 years, we have a lot of elections, so, and plus, the state will be, giving us some new voting equipment, which we have to pay for, so. Giving it, but we have to pay for it now, because there's, well, we won't get into all the other reasons why the state isn't paying for it, but, we have that, to be paid out of it, so that's why the 30,000.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's do. Board discussion.
Okay, all right, Converse,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
DeLuca,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Lindsley, yes, and Whitaker.
Yes. Okay, and your reports, the clerk revenue expenditure reports is submitted, and now we're down to the fire department. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. As I alluded to earlier, in the month of February, I had 57 calls. A lot of those calls were due to the snow. We had a lot of vehicles that were in ditches, run off the roads, car accidents to that nature. The other thing, we've been getting some structure fires as the weathers are starting to get warmer. Folks will start burning outside. On those high wind days, I would recommend that you curtail the burning. We had a meeting at the chief's meeting with the DNR. The DNR issues red flag days, which we're gonna start getting alerted for, which are basically known burn days for the state of Michigan. So our aspect is that as the state of Michigan declare red flag days, we'll probably parrot that and also have no burn days in Salem to prevent some of these, hopefully preventing a fire. The other thing is we just got off structure fire this afternoon with unattended cooking. Luckily, the neighbor heard the smoke alarm go off, investigated and found that the neighbors left the stove on with a pot of food in there. So they're able to put the fire out before we got there. So again, we're moving in the summer months or the spring months. Just watch your burning. Watch your activities. We actually get an uptick in calls because of that.
Excuse me, how do you announce the red flag day?
So we're gonna post that on the website, and then I'll do Nixle alerts as well. So if you're signed up for Nixle, you'll get alerts, and if you're around the area, you'll get Nixle alerts. Like Canton just had a train derailment, and I got the Nixle alerts. So I don't know if you're signed up for it, but you'll hear about the activities that are occurring in and around our area. Yes, sir.
To follow on that, amuse us all with one more, how do we sign up for Nixle for those of us who haven't or don't know how to?
So, I'm not sure if there's a link on the website, but I will make sure we get one up there. But basically, you go to nixle.com, you fill in your information, you connect in how you would like to be notified, and the areas that you'd like to be notified. It can be fixed, or it could be as you travel with your phone, and your phone is aware of where you're at. If the department has Nixle and you drive through that area, it'll actually send you an alert, like there's a traffic accident or there's a major road closure. So it's kind of a nice little tool that a lot of communities use, and it's not just in Michigan, but throughout the country. The nice thing for us is it comes at a right price. It's free, and so we can get out alerts to the community.
Can't get it cheaper?
Well, you can pay for some advanced features. We're the cheapskates. We got the free features.
Aren't there some at the front desk?
There probably is.
Brian, do you mind going back there, see if there's some Nixle cards, and maybe bring them in here as people leave tonight, they can grab one?
The other thing is the 4 new AEDs came in, and as we rotate those out, as we get trained on theirs, we're gonna put one of the older AEDs in the town hall. It'll be in a cabinet. Hopefully we won't have to use it, but it'll be available for these exciting meetings in case we could have the need for it. It'll be available for us. All right. Any questions?
Okay, our Washtenaw County law enforcement's been submitted, and Mr. Winsley, you want to?
Yeah, let me just, many of you didn't, you all participated in the election last Tuesday, and I'd like to just maybe update you on how many people participated in some of those things. So, we actually had, total votes cast in Salem Township was 2,166. So that was approximately about 41% of our township voted last week. Just for the fun of it, Bernie Sanders had 375 votes, Hillary had 323 votes. Donald Trump had 566 votes, Cruz had 376, John Cage had 333, and Rubio had 111. So that's just a recap of what we had last week.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may.
Yes.
The 9/11 millage did pass, so thank you for renewing that. That is gonna have a tremendous effect on, our ability to respond both on the police and ambulance and the fire side. Some of the new things you're gonna see is the ability to text and 911 text back, and more accurately, pinpointing, your location by your cell phone if you were to call, especially if you're in an accident, you're disabled, the enhanced 911 will be able to kind of locate you a little bit closer to where you're at. Should that assistance be needed, you can't speak or get any other means to us. So that did pass at a pretty wide margin, and I really want to thank you, the voters, for supporting that. That's going to help us locally here.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The fire hydrants that are on the Plymouth side of Napier Road,
Yes.
do you have access to them?
We are very grateful our neighbors provide us water, both as Lyon Township has also moved hydrants down 8 Mile, which has helped us greatly. One of the things we hope to take advantage of, if you read the newsletter that came out, our ISO ratings, and the closer you are to a fire hydrant, the lower your ISO rating is, and hopefully the lower your insurance would reciprocate. We're hoping with that new development coming in that Gofferson corridor and water coming into that area, to be able to tap into those hydrants, and with the purchase of our new pumper tanker truck, again, we're going to be going to try to lower that ISO rating, which will hopefully help the vast majority of the residents lower their insurance costs. So we tap in Plymouth, Novi, Northfield, Lyon Township. Northfield doesn't really have a whole lot, Superior doesn't really have a whole lot, so it's that Oakland, Wayne County border that we tap into quite heavily.
Okay. All right, now to moving on down the list here, board discussion and investment policy. Mr. Conders?
Okay, thank you. Before you, you'll find a new investment policy. Upon taking office, going to a lot of the MUFA conferences, which is the Michigan Government Finance, they came back and they gave off a lot of recommendations what we should have in our investment policy, as well as we took a lot of classes in the MTA conferences, both last year and this year, and the people basically came back and said, here's your guidelines that you should have in your investment policies, and they held up as one of the best in the state was Northfield Township. And so, being that I get down there quite often, I talk with them, I went in there and says, could I get your policy? And they said, sure. So I came back, and what I did is I really went back through a lot of the stuff that was in our policy, and there was really only with basically 2 pages. It was basically what was cookie cutter stuff. And so what I did is I went back in and made sure that they didn't lose anything that was in our policy. A lot of it was a standard with policy with Northfield, as well as I also had the City of Ann Arbor's investment policy. So what I did is I went back and really took a close look at all of them and made sure that I duplicated and put in there what was applicable to us. They have investment officers, they have treasurers, they have all sorts of different things, so which we don't have, so there was a lot of tweaking of the words, but in essence, this policy is nothing much more than Northfield's investment policy. And I have passed this by all of our investment firms, Chase as well as Comerica, as well as we're probably going to have to be going to another form, past administration used, past administrations have used, it's called Michigan Class. I have not used it up until now because the interest rates that they were paying out was 0.01, 0.02. And to transfer some money into that for that kind of interest, to me, it was not worth it, because in the MGFA, they said anytime you transfer money, you have a potential for fraud. And I don't wanna put myself in any way into that thing, so I'm guilty of having a lot of money sitting in accounts without transferring them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, because the interest rates weren't there. So what's the difference between getting 0 or 0.01, 0.02? So, but now that we are faced with a different situation, our main bank is Chase Bank, and they had a policy where there's a standard FDIC insurance, which is basically $250,000. We had unlimited FDIC insurance because they met anything that was over and above $250,000. They took it upon themselves to guarantee their assets in Chase Bank to warrant those, or to insure those accounts. We got a letter, and as of February 29th, that FDIC insurance is now back to $250,000, and that's it. That's for all of our accounts. So to try to protect our accounts, I am now going back and talking with this Michigan Class investment firm that we can do, and is transfer money in and out. You can do it on a daily basis. And they're now paying, because of the raise in the prime rate, they're now paying about 0.35 to 0.4, almost 0.5%. It varies every day. But they're now starting to pay a lot more interest on that. So I've also given this policy to them to make sure that they are compatible with this. And all of them have come back and said that they're fine with this. This is exactly what we should really be doing. So with that, in fact, this is a first attempt at giving this to the board for their perusal. And I'm welcoming any comments back on it at all. And I also have, if anybody wants it from the board here, I also have our old, a couple copies of our old policy if you wanted to see that. But with that being said, this is what I really trying to push to get adopted probably next meeting. This is more for discussion purposes and to get everybody up to date and be able to really go through it and see what you think. And with that, that's for the adjustment policy.
Any question, members? This is time to read it, if you haven't read it.
Dale, you might want to talk about the Public Act 20, where we can invest in certain things. The public may not know that.
Correct. Public Act 20, the old policy didn't even reference Public Act 20. But Public Act 20 is the requirement that's put on by the state. We cannot invest in anything that isn't in Public Act 20. I wrote a long, lengthy, basically it was over 2 different messenger articles. One which was describing what Public Act 20 was, as well as the different types of investments. But in essence, really, the Public Act 20 really comes back down to you can only invest into institutions that are licensed and have offices in Michigan. Comes down to their CDs, CDRs, there's a whole pot full of different things that you can put in there, but we cannot go out onto the open market. You can't buy equities, you can't go out there and buy, buy bonds on Ford Motor Company or GM or something like that. You can't do that. It has to be, they have their list of requirements of what has to be. So it is referenced in here that we are compliant with Public Act 20 because that is the only thing that we can do and legally invest in. So that is why it's referenced in there as well.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll come down to the employee assistance program.
No, I want one more.
Okay.
There's one more that was in your packet. And it's the employee assistance program. It's in the packet. It's probably I know Gary said he's gotten a lot of questions over it, and it basically spawned out from when we went through the union contract. In the union contract, what we are starting to do this year is we're gonna be going back in and having mandatory physicals. And in that physical program, they're also gonna check for drugs and alcohol abuse and all sorts of other things. And if a person flunks a drug test, what do? And that's why we kinda have an employee assistance program so that they can go back in and get the help. And what this really is, it's a rider that's on our insurance policy that we have for the fire. It's kind of like a health, not a health, it's an accident and life insurance policy that we have through Burnham and Flowers, our agency. They cover this, and when a person has an assistance, and you can go back in for legal counseling, you can go back in for health and wellness, emotional issues, drug problems, alcohol, emotional issues, child care problems. And this is all confidential. When you go back in, there's an 800 number you can call, they can talk to a counselor, and nobody can get that information back. And this is all covered off underneath our insurance policy, so this is not no cost to the township, because it's already part of that program, that insurance program. One of the things, this program that I have here in the packet, has not been, and I talked with the insurance agent today, there are some issues in here that we would like to have comments back on it, but this isn't going to be the final version. Because before we put a policy out, it has to be run through the insurance companies to make sure that our insurance policy and this policy are the same. The reason why we really need this is we need to have a policy in place in our policies and procedures manual that comes back and lets that fireman know he has another route to go to through our insurance company. So this is really not it's more of a direction for the firemen that they can use for this. And it's not necessarily a end all to the policy. So it's just it's a right that we have to have it for legal ways, but it really has no cost or no benefits to the township other than it's there. So that the people, if they want this kind of counseling, they can get it.
And this is mainly for the firefighters?
This is all for the firefighters, because they're the only ones that are covered by that policy. So there's some words in here that were absolutely wrong. And it said all township employees, and that has to be all township firefighters.
Right.
All right. Any other questions about that? Be more updated at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, under general township updates that we can talk about. New and exciting. Get a little excitement going on. We can talk about roads. We did meet with the road commission this past, what day was it? I can't remember. Thursday. Past Thursday. And they have a lot of projects. They need a lot of money. And but we got a lot. We're kind of waiting for them to get back with us with some final numbers on some stuff that we would like to see done. And I think, we talked a little bit about, last month about the Hamlet area from Curry Road to Chubb Road. And that is a slated project that they are paying for and they're going to do. But there are some other that we've talked about that they've, an additional, I think it's $70,000 for curb and gutter in the hamlet that would widen it some and make it more attractive and help with the water and the drainage and everything on the road. So we're waiting for some of them finals to come back. We also discussed at the meeting of the road, Salem Road going to the school. Once, and kind of what we've asked them, they say, well, once they're here, and what can they, since they're doing this section, it will be a lot cheaper for them to do other stuff in the hamlet here, which would be Salem Road and also the road out here, which is Dickerson. So we're kind of waiting back to get some figures on that. What else? I'm gonna talk about? We also talked about the library. We're waiting for some, turning pass lane as you're coming south on Pontiac Trail, which is a real issue, and it's a safety issue. We want to partner with the library to make this happen, so they've had some crazy numbers, and I think maybe they'll come back with some better numbers for us. So
Mary, what about Lyon Township? Will they go in on that?
we have reached out to South Lyon. We're still waiting to hear. It's South Lyon Library, so we're waiting for them to. So we did approach them back, I think, a year ago. We thought about doing it, and they, I believe, turned us down on it. Or they weren't. Mr. Trent, I think you reached out to them.
Yeah, they didn't have any money last year.
So we're waiting on that, and but then going back to other road projects in here, once again, and I don't know where this figure, I mean, right now we have in the budget about $500,000 to put into the roads. Again, you know, I'm just one vote, but I feel, once again, that the monies that the township has, and it keeps growing, I think one way it benefits everybody who lives in the township is by roads. And if you, I know there's a lot of issues with the road commission, people can talk about, but if you look at the funding that they're getting, and you know, some of this new state money they're saying is not gonna be coming till 2017, which is still not enough to take care of what the problems we have. And, you know, there's townships in the area that have passed millages that are improving their roads because people are tired of it. We believe, at least I believe, that we need to take our resources and put them into our roads because everybody benefits from them. And I think probably so many of the comments and complaints that come in are about the roads. And it's like, it's so frustrating because there's not much you can do with it. And other than figure out a way to look at all of our roads and put some money and invest it into them. And so that's kind of what we'll be bringing up. So, I mean, we're $500,000, but I think, you know, once some of these projects come in, we might, you know, want to spend a lot more than $500,000. But they do have some projects, especially in our dirt roads. Some of them have not been drained properly in years. They haven't been, and they need attention. And you know, they'll put 50. They're required. I think they can't put any more than 50% into a local road, but they don't have the monies really to do any of it other than some of our major roads. So I know they're slating the rest of 6 Mile maybe next year. That's kind of what they advise us on, which is pretty bad. And we also talked, one is 7 Mile, the curve around 7 Mile, which is very dangerous. We've had a lot of motorcycle accidents in the last year. That's a real problem that we really need to look and get that because it's a safety issue. What else did we talk about? But anyway, that's what we need to, I just, you know, you think about what can we do to where people benefit from, it's really these roads, and we should have the best roads in Washtenaw County. And again, I still think, you know, from the landfills, sort of say, from what the landfill gets, you know, you hear a lot of rumors, you know, I mean, we've been asking questions, they get just as much, and it's not double the amount than what we get, but it's 3% of the tipping fees is what all that Washtenaw County gets. And, but at the same time, the fees that they're getting and then what we're getting, I still feel that they should look at us different because we have all these trucks and trash that's coming in to the landfill, and they should help us more with our roads because of all the truck traffic that we're having to deal with. It just kind of makes sense. So we did have some good discussions about that at the road commission and also at the county level at the waste management. The reason why I wanted to, or volunteered to be on that committee was Because the main thing is to let them know in this committee that, what our roads and the conditions that they are, and we feel that they should be putting some more money in and helping us with our roads here, so. Any other comments about the roads that people were about that?
One issue that was brought up, and it was kind of a hot button of mine down at the MTA, was learned out that, and I took it up with the road, and you see in there in the budget, we had like a $16,000 offset on the dust control. We've never got that in the past. And we're doing a little arm twisting, we got like a $16,000 offset on the dust control, which is welcome.
Okay, any other updates?
Carry on the roads with the landfill and the impact on our roads from the amount of trucks coming into the township. Can we put a tax on each truck that comes through our township?
Great idea. Great idea.
I mean, that way it's not out of our pocket.
Right.
I'll second that.
It's just gonna, yeah, put a toll booth.
Great idea. Okay, any other discussion? Sewer and water in the USD, I know we keep talking about, not much has really happened. Nothing really else to share.
An update that you're not even aware of yet.
All right.
And we did find out from Yucca that it was, the rumor that they do not have capacity for Salem was untrue. They do still have capacity for Salem, so that's good news.
Who started that rumor? That'd be fun to know who it was. I have some ideas. All right, that's good. All right, anybody else, any updates? Okay, so we're down to, public comment. Joe?
Dust control, 21,000 plus, is that per application or is that total and how many applications?
3 applications.
There's 3 applications.
Thank you.
Somebody else?
I've had several phone calls from a friend of mine who happens to be an arborist, and he's very concerned about the dead trees along 7 Mile Road, Mayfair to Chubb. There are some huge trees that are dead and
Yeah.
rotten at the bottom,
Right.
and he wants to see them cut down. Before they fall down and kill someone.
Right.
Few of them come down.
Pardon me?
Few of them have come down.
Yeah, was that you cutting up one?
No.
No, I saw somebody cutting one that did come down.
Yeah, that was in front of,
Yeah, you know, the road commission, is supposed to be taking care of, especially if it's in the road right away. Now, some were not. I called on one, I don't know if it's the same one, but it was dead, hanging over 7 Mile. A resident called me about it, but we did get them out and they did cut it down, because they seen it looked like, you know, it could fall anytime. It was actually kind of.
I've called Dan Smith twice, and
You might as well hold on. Calling your neighbor.
Okay.
hey Gary, I gotta compliment you on, the Rodney Manny deal and the Donna
Well,
deal.
thank you, O'Neill. That's the first time I've ever heard you come.
They should have been gone 3 years ago.
O'Neill!
Good deal you done.
Shocked!
Hey, when the guy does good, you tell him he did good.
all these years.
You're not a bad guy.
First, I want to apologize for interruption earlier.
Yeah, thank you,
My
Rob.
question to you is, on the roads, 8 Mile and Napier Road, is there any plans, have anybody heard on road commission about putting a light up there, since it's just a blinking light, there's a lot of accidents that occur?
I mean, that has been a big issue, our folks here from Northville Crossing too. I mean, that's been a constant battle of asking, and it's been, I mean, there's been.
Oh, I know, I hear them.
Yeah, I mean, some real serious injuries there and stuff, so.
Now, the second question, on the ordinances, since Donna, who do we talk to, who has the final say in some of these ordinances that are, that we have?
You'll be able to call the office. I think a lot of the stuff we wanna get sorted out by them having come in. And again, Donna's gonna be coming in,
Okay.
and then we're, you know, with Ann and Barb, that's the only 2 people I have in the office. So it's, But I think we're gonna have a plan moving forward to get that better taken care of.
So
Yeah.
it comes down to you, and then you
Yeah.
call Carl
Yeah.
if there's a question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, thank you.
I mean, there's, you know, and not to get into the, you know, I mean, it's crazy stuff. It's like, I think, I don't know, some of you have shared the horse story. It's like, you know, were they allowed to have a horse on the property in an industrial area? And, they've had it there for years, so, you know, they come over here and they pull it out of the book and they got it and it says they're allowed to have it. Well, they must have given the wrong information because it's not. And therefore, so then it becomes a fight, so you got a daughter now, their daughter has to get rid of the horses because the other neighbor now is mad because, hey, yeah, these are the kind of things that just is frustrating. So I think, this will help out a lot, so that there's like one organization that can, you know, get this information from. And unlimited calls, you know, and some of the others, wasn't unlimited calls, and then it's kind of like, you know, I would tell, we can kind of funnel it through the office, but, you know, it's like if the planning commission members are all calling, you know, you're getting billed for all that, and, I just think it's gonna be good for us. I think we'll even save money doing it, but I just, you wanna make sure it's done right.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
You have your others? Hi, my name's Phil Chen. I've introduced myself a couple of different times. This is short notice, but that's when the meeting was held. Tomorrow night, the Washtenaw County Republican Party with Young Americans for Freedom, there are flyers at the back table, are holding a special events panel discussion with Jewish leaders. Andrea Fisher-Newman, University of Michigan Regent, Jeff Stockwell, Michigan GOP co-chair, Dave Lippman, Mackinac Center for Public Policy, and it's going to be moderated by Ezra Drisman, who is the executive editor of the New Pain, which is a blog. It's tomorrow, 7 p.m., Hutchins Hall. Again, there are flyers at the back. Title is "Why Are We Politically Conservative?" A panel discussion with Jewish leaders. Just want you to know that these things are going on, and this is one, and again, there's a flyer on the back should you care to look at it, or should you care to attend. That's the information.
All right, thanks, Phil.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, anybody else? Joanne?
Supervisor Whitaker, over the past few months, you have continued to say that the information in the flyer being circulated regarding the landfill expansion is not true. In researching your claims, I realize it is you who is spreading the false and misleading information. Well over a year ago, I was shown plans for the landfill expansion that included the closing of 6 Mile. When I was shown these plans, I was incredulous. When Veolia requested the last expansion in 2009, Mr. Rattel said it would be the last request. I told the individual who showed me these plans he was mistaken. He laughed at me and said it was a done deal. I received confirmation of the intent to expand from a woman business owner I am friends with. Both of these individuals have the connections to know of the plans well before the rest of us. You have said there are no plans to close 6 Mile, yet Tom Flanagan, the general manager of Advance, has confirmed this to residents more than once. You denied already being in favor of the expansion, yet you consistently use the scare tactic of telling residents your taxes will go up if the landfill is not allowed to expand. Why aren't you telling them their taxes will go up when Showstack starts construction on their planned 545-home subdivision? Don't you think increasing Salem's size by 25% will also increase the cost of fire and police protection and other infrastructure needed for a development of that size? Increasing these costs by 25% will be far beyond what the landfill income alone can pay for. Have you bothered to consider this? As a member of the Washtenaw County Solid Waste Management Committee, you can voice your objections to the expansion. Yet at the meeting in February, you were 20 minutes late and proceeded to play with your phone for most of the meeting. Is that being an advocate for Salem residents? If there is any misleading or false information being spread here, it is by you, Mr. Supervisor. You keep saying the expansion is 2 to 3 years away, when in reality, once the committee approves the request, it is a done deal. That approval will happen by the end of this year, according to Dan Smith, Salem's commissioner, and also the chair of the Solid Waste Committee. The only way to stop the expansion is for residents to act now, before the committee gives its approval.
Okay, anyone else? Larry?
A couple of comments. One relative to the corrections to that document referred to in the employee assistance plan. I'd also like you to all pay close attention to the corrections that need to be made in the investment policy as well. It was pretty obvious to me this wasn't a boilerplate because there are words misused. The word capital with an A is being exchanged with capital with an O, have two very different meanings. I want to make sure this document's professional, especially relative to something as important as an investment policy. Thank you tonight for the clarification on the act, because I was a little concerned that there was a possibility that we were leaning towards, in our diversification language, the ability to go into equities, which in the current markets is obviously a pretty risky place to be. So, also there are, it looked like somebody may have transcribed that with some kind of voice recognition software, because there's a word that's spelled Shelby, S-H-E-L-B-Y, and I believe what you're looking for is shall be. So the point is to just make sure that this is a professional document, well reviewed by all the members, and if you need any editing or proofreading, give me a call. I'm also here to mention that we had a pretty serious and glaring error in the motion that we moved, seconded, and approved tonight. If you look at the last line of that document, our math indicates on that form that we had $60,000, I believe it's for fire capital, and we're reducing that by $12,000. And last I checked, that should equal $48,000. The good news is you have an extra $10,000 to add to the contingency, which I'm delighted that we have here tonight. But it's a little disconcerting, because if we're making that kind of an error in our accounting with something as simple as that math, where else might we have some problems with our accounting across the board? So again, the professionalism, the accuracy is very important elements, and it's really important that you instill confidence in the community with the way you're operating in the community. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Brian?
I would just like to respond to Mrs. Heil. I was here when the board voted to expand the landfill in 2009. And I don't remember it, Dave saying that was the last thing he was going to ask for expansion on. We could go back to the tape and listen. One of the questions I would do is, if you've seen these plans, if you've talked to people, why isn't that on the website we saw on the TV today? I mean, I would assume if you have plans showing 6 Mile closing, and you're calling Mr. Whitaker a liar, all we would need is to see a copy of the plans. And then we'd all believe you over Mr. Whitaker. Not likely, but as likely as Mr. O'Neill complimenting somebody. So. Anyway, if there is all of these plans, why don't we see them? There's a lot of
I'm not in possession of them. I saw them.
So you saw them, and we're supposed to trust you.
You don't have to.
Over
I don't
Mr.
trust
Whitaker.
you.
Okay, good. We don't trust you. Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
Gary, on the closing of 6 Mile Road, okay? I don't wanna get the two guys in trouble, but one works there and one's quit there, okay? And Flanagan, the big shot, told both of these guys that they had plans on shutting 6 Mile Road down. Now, one works there still, and one quit. And these are workers down there, and that's what Flanagan told them. Now, why would Flanagan tell them that, you know what I'm saying?
Any other comments?
If the landfill wanted to close 6 Mile, wouldn't they have to go through an eminent domain process to take
It's
the
not true.
property?
It's not true, no.
Well, I don't believe it either, but even so,
Gary, they talked about
that has
20
to be
years
a
ago.
public process.
They
So-
talk about anything. They've even talked about a ski hill. You know, I mean, where's the ski hill? I mean, they, you know, so evidently if somebody says it's a ski hill, it's gospel. But the bottom line is, even though it does, when you think about it, so I'll have my comments, I'll talk more about this. Anybody else? Okay, so for my comments to talk about what has been accused tonight, so let's talk a little bit about it. So, you know, the landfill, I mean, they can talk about a lot of different issues that goes on down there, or ideas. When you look at it, at one time, you know, they say, well, I had heard it too, even before I became supervisor. They talked about, well, if you look at it, it'd just be one big hill all the way across 6 Mile. Well, that, you know, again, there might have been people talking about that, but there's been no plans on it or anybody talking. So when they came, once again, this is how crazy some of the stuff that people will stand up and say stuff like, you know, I can't believe, and first of all, if Joanne Heil had some plans, or thought they were, has anybody ever come and talked to me about it? No. I am the supervisor. You know, and so they planned it, you know, or they expanded for 2009 for 20 years. It goes down, you know, and we're left for 15 to 17 years with this. And that's how long they're saying this thing's gonna last. Okay, so maybe it's only 12 years. It doesn't matter, but it still was extended for 20 years. So when Dave Bertel showed up here a few months ago, he came here and explained very openly about wanting to expand on the north side of 6 Mile. He did not say that he was closing 6 Mile. And there was never any indication to the township or the township board that they were going to close 6 Mile. So this is false. So for anybody to run around or have it on their website that this is true what they're saying is false. It's wrong. And in fact, because I thought something like this would happen tonight, I did call Tom Flanagan and I said, do you know something that I don't know? And he says, I absolutely did not say that, and that's not what their intentions are. So, folks, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just telling you, I had Mr. Rattel come in here because he talked about that this is what they were going to do, talk about it to Washtenaw County. I said, you need to come in here and let the public know. And then I put it in the newsletter, so it would let every resident know that what's coming down. We formed a committee just to say that when they do come in, let's be ready for them to talk about it. And a very important thing that people ought to know, because and I don't even know if it's even worth mentioning. I'm just saying, what happens if the state or the county says, Salem Township, no matter what you say, if you say no to this, it's going to be at our doorstep no matter what. So all these people running around making all these crazy comments and acting like nobody knows what they're doing, and then we don't even negotiate down the road if they do come to us to expand, and we get it anyway. I mean, that's exactly, Mr. Plato, I asked him to do research on it, and that's kind of what they're saying too, that, you know, since it's been there for so long, you know, trash has to go somewhere, folks. And I'm not saying that I want it seen that, because I don't, you know, I can afford to pay more taxes. And it's, you know, and then when you go to the landfill, take a garbage truck, or you take your pickup truck and fill it up and go over there and see what they charge you for that. And for those of you that go there, you know it's a lot of money. So there are some benefits, but then again, there's some negatives to it. And I have never said I'm for it or against it. I'm just saying, yeah, you talk about your taxes will go up, yes, they are. But if Plymouth Township ever took over the sewer and water in the USD, you know, Mrs. Howell talks about, you know, the revenue from that. Well, police and fire, you know what I'm saying? Maybe they will do the police and fire. They talk a 425 agreement that they would do it, so it wouldn't even be us. So, again, I don't know if we're going to have a bunch of more calls and a bunch more fire and all that stuff over in the USD. I don't know that. But when it comes down, when the time comes, it comes. But, you know, maybe if the USD develops, sewer and water comes, and wherever it comes from, and then they decide to do the sewer, the water, the police, and the fire, then how is that gonna cost Salem Township? Again, this is just pie in the sky stuff to talk about, but just to assume, well, this is what's gonna happen, no. So, let's just take it, so Mrs. Heil says, we got all these residents over there, well, we're not gonna get the money from them because Plymouth Township is gonna take care. I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying, let's say that does happen. Well, and then, what about, so your taxes are gonna go up, folks. So, you know, I proved that she's wrong. You know, I mean, it just, so, again, we can make all these assumptions, and we can say all these things, but I just know they're not true, okay? And unless Mrs. Heil knows something more than I do. I mean, you think they would tell the supervisor or the board of trustees at Salem Township that they're gonna close 6 Mile, but it's not gonna happen. So, Mrs. Heil would like to come with me down to the landfill, I'll be glad to take you down there and introduce you with officials and get it from the horse's mouth. Because I'd be willing to do that, but, you know, it's just, you know, we do have to be careful how we talk about it. I don't care if you don't like me, that's got nothing to do with it. Don't shake your head, Larry, because that's exactly
It has
what I'm
nothing
saying.
to do with it.
Yes, it does have something to do
You're
with it.
making it sound like it's something that it's not.
I'm saying that you're not, when somebody in the audience here accuses you of lying for something, I'm not lying.
But don't accuse me of shaking my head. I have
No,
every
you
right
are
to shake my
shaking your
head.
head like that, like I don't know what
I
I'm
can
talking
shake
about.
my head all night long,
You
Gary.
can, go right ahead.
There's nothing wrong with
But
that.
I'm just
This is a public
letting you
place,
know
I'm a resident
that
of
I'm
this
telling
township,
you-
and I have an ability
and I'm a
to
resident
voice
too.
my opinion in any way
I'm a
I do it,
resident
whether
too.
it's verbal or nonverbal.
Excuse, if I could
Anyway,
say, if I could say a few words, Let's make sure before we go out with any accusation, we know our stuff, because ultimately, people who go out to the television make a fool of themselves. You know, it makes all of us look like a bunch of fools who live in Salem Township. I have a lot of friends who live in the region, you know, Northville, all the area. And then, hey, John, what's going on? And then I say, well, don't listen to what you read and what you hear. Because I don't know what's been, you know, what they've been drinking, but I'll tell you what, it's some type of Kool-Aid. And the thing is, let's not make ourselves a bunch of fools in the community. Understand things before you speak, and research things before accusing people of lying.
And we are very open to, you know, if somebody comes in with something, you know, we're open to say, let's have a discussion, let's find out what the truth is, if somebody doesn't understand it. So the last comment that I want to make about that, and I apologize, it's not my style to do this, but again, I'm just saying, you know, again, you gotta have the facts straight before you stand up and accuse somebody of something. The other is, I would like to thank the planning commission for a great job that they did with the cable issue. You know, they did a great job, and I wanna thank them personally.
Yuri, who's
I know,
drinking the
let me
Kool-Aid
finish,
now?
this is my time. They have done a great job, you know, and first of all, I have to, you know, again, I have to keep making sure that people understand exactly what happened. Again, a year and a half to 2 years, when complaints came in over the cable operation, and please try to follow me, and I'll try to explain it, is that when they came in, and there was these issues talking about noise, dust, everything that was going on down there, there was never any evidence to me or in the office that something was done wrong as far as going back or bringing it back to the planning commission for the amended site plan. That was approved by the office, and I have to take responsibility for the office to stamp that. That, I apologize, that should not have happened, but it did. And the most important thing is, when I first found out that this had happened, I had called the planner. The planner did not have copies of it. I, you know, asked the office didn't have it. That was approved back in whatever, 2011 or whatever it was. And then finally we found it, the engineers found it. So when it first came back, and I seen that it was not on the site plan, the original site plan, then, you know, there's two things to look at. One is, what they were doing isn't an allowed use, according to our ordinances, in the heavy industrial area, and it is. So, there's two things you could have done on this. You could have said, you know what, they already got their approvals, let it go back, let them continue doing what they're doing and not even address the situation. But what we did is I had Donna write a letter when we first found this out. We sat at that round table, Rodney, myself, and Donna. Donna wrote a letter to Kalo and Sons and said, would you please come back to the planning commission and get this addressed so that everybody could have a say-so and know of what the problems are down there. And again, that's how it happened, and what has happened since then, as far as having hours of operation, having the dust control, having a new concrete crusher down there that's a lot quieter, and having, the road that we were talking to the road commission about that needs to be 800 feet to get up to the driveway up there to help from all these trucks that are bringing all the mud on the roads. So there's been a lot of things that have been accomplished through this, through the planning commission, and I really appreciate your efforts behind this. Okay, Dan?
No, I'm on the planning commission, and the Kalo thing you talked about, we did a lot of work on it. We went through every part of the ordinances, we went through all the health and safety stuff, everything. Okay, a motion was made at the meeting by our secretary. Amendments were made to that motion. And then it shows up in the South Line Herald that that motion was agreed to by the planning commission long before the meeting, and we could have had a 5-minute meeting. That is in line with what you're saying about putting false stuff in the newspaper. I resent it, because the first time I saw that motion, and we worked on it, was at the meeting. And I resent it, because it's like making a fool out of me in the paper. And I resent it. I resent all that false stuff that's always being put in the South Line paper. It's too bad that you can't have another comment about what the real truth is instead of all this false crap.
Hey, can I answer that?
Just, okay.
Yeah, Gary, I talked to one of your planning commissioners, and he said that that thing was looked over and everything by the lawyer before the meeting. Okay?
Gary?
I still stand by it.
You know, let me do something for you so it's not hearsay, okay? O'Neill called me after the meeting to find out about the motion, right?
Yes, I did.
And what did I say to
He
you?
told me it was looked over by Ed.
Right. And what did I say to Mr. Walsey, too?
I don't know what you
We
said
had
about Mr.
a
Walsey.
very complex issue that didn't need a motion that's gonna be off the hip at the meeting. No other commissioner on that board saw, as the secretary, I had that. Was it looked over by Mr. Plato? Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. On Thursday, I sat, I guess we use this term, at the round table, and I had notes of all the conditions that we wanted to do. Interesting, right? Because it's an approved use of that zoning. And we added all of those conditions, and I asked Mr. Plato to look it over so it wouldn't backfire on us. So,
Knowing that it was going to be voted on at the meeting.
absolutely.
There you go.
And guess
It was a
what?
done deal,
And
Avi,
and
before the
O'Neill, guess
meeting was
what?
set up.
When there's gonna be a time, and guess what?
Wasn't a
Any
done
of the
deal with me.
commissioners,
Gary,
excuse
take
me,
control.
I'm speaking, any of the commissioners had a right to say nay and not vote it in. We spent a lot of time on it, and guess what? When we have other complex issues, I will probably be authoring out motions in the greatest of detail to become the record for the planning commission to review at the meeting. This was not done ahead of time. I spent a day down there listening, watching, and monitoring all of the things as other people on our commission did. We put a lot of work into this. So I don't want all of this trickery, and by the way, because you like everything spelled correctly, Fernandez is with an S on the end and not a Z.
I can
So
do
if
that,
you're
Avi.
gonna put me in the paper, please spell my name right. Just to help you out, because a lot of you don't understand this. When you see Fernandez, you figure that I probably came from Mexico. I'm Portuguese, so we spell them with an S. Okay? So the fact of the matter is guess what? We did the township a great deed. We took due diligence in making sure it was gonna backfire on us, because we put a lot of steps on that hold moving forward for Caleb, that, by the way, previously when they came in for some changes on the amount of trucks, there were no conditions. They didn't have anything about dust, they didn't have anything about routes, they didn't have anything about noise, they didn't have anything about anything. So we did one hell of a job, and to my colleagues on the commission, thank you. Okay, O'Neill, and by the way, O'Neill, you asked me if I would run for supervisor. This is the very reason why I would never.
Folks, thank you very much for being here tonight, and happy Easter to everybody, and hope you have a great evening. Thank you.